Do not stockpile until you've done this. G'day, my name's Jenny. I'm an Aussie mum of 16 children. We're going to have a little chat about stockpiling. Well, it's been a crazy year so far, and if you're like me, even though I am a stockpiler, even I got caught unprepared this year. So I think everybody's looking at wanting to have a little bit of a backup supply in their homes now. So we're going to talk a little bit of stockpiling 101, and you do not want to stockpile until you do these things. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with having a few extra items in your house and a bit of a backup supply, and you will absolutely save money by shopping this way. And look folks, you will never know when you might need those extra items for yourself or to help out some family and friends. So the most important thing is to have a plan. Don't just think, oh, I'm just going to become a stockpiler and then just, grab these catalogs out of your letterbox and then race off to the store and spend a whole lot of money without having a plan first. You will not save money that way. You will make it very chaotic. So you need to have that plan. And the best way to have that plan is to write a list. You will need to talk to your family and let them know that this is what you're planning on doing, that you are going to be buying extra supplies to put in the house. They're not to use it. They're not to just think, oh, there's extra snacks around the house, we're just going to use them all up, or because we've got so much of another product, we can just use it however we like. You need to let them know what your expectations are, the reason why you are buying extra, so that you can save some money on it and you've got supplies for your family in times of challenge and trial. Now, if you're making that list, here's what you need to know. You need to know what you use. You need to know your budget. You need to know what you already have. You need to know what you're going to buy. And you need to know where you're going to store it. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we all had a spare room or a shed at our house where we could put all of our stockpile? Now, that would be lovely. And we see lots of those on the internet, people with amazing setups about how much stock they actually keep. But for most of us, we don't have that luxury of having that space. So I guess you have to utilize any available space in your house and make that work for you. Now, I certainly don't have space in my house for a full stockpile room. I just use my kitchen pantry, cupboards in my laundry, cupboards in my bathroom, and that's pretty much it. So speaking of space, it's really important that you don't overbuy on the sales. If you don't have the space to store it, do not buy it. It will get in your way and you'll always be falling over it. So do not overbuy. So it's important to start with what you already have and what you use in your house, so that you've got an idea of how much you have and how much you can actually store. So you're going to need to go into your cupboards, you're going to need to look at the products that you use. Don't just buy something because it's on sale. Use the products that you like and that you use as a family. And then count up the space that you have. So can you fit 4? Can you fit 6 in your cupboard? And then you're going to want to write that on a list. So I use a really simple printout. I just run these off on my computer, 4 columns. And the first column is the product. I go through my cupboards and I know what products I need. So say in my laundry cupboard, I need floor cleaner, I need window cleaner, multi-purpose cleaner, dishwashing liquid, bathroom cleaners, toilet cleaners, what else? Oven cleaner, all those sorts of products. And then I have a list of them. Now you can either do it alphabetically if that suits you, or I tend to go along each shelf so that in my mind I know that, floor cleaners are first, followed by the window cleaner. Then when I go to the shop, I've got it in my head as to where everything's laid out in my cupboard. Products are what goes in the first column on this list. Now the next column is storage space. So that's where I write the number of how many of that product can I actually fit in my cupboard. So I have counted it up, I have bought up a certain amount, and then sometimes you might just need to move them forward to sort of guess how many are going to fit in there, but you need to know what's the maximum amount of product that you can fit in that space. Now, the next column is what do you actually have? So if we're talking floor cleaner and you can fit 6 in your cupboard and you've only got 2 in there at the moment, then the fourth column will tell you that you need 4. And then that way you can keep an eye out on the specials in the store, and when those products get marked down, especially if they are half price, you can go and then buy another 2, another 3, another 4. You are not going to want to go in there and buy another 10 bottles of it if it's not going to fit in your cupboard. So having a list like this is really important, and you can have one for all your household goods, you can have one for bathroom toiletries, you can add in your first aid supplies as well, and then you can also have one for the kitchen. So the list for the kitchen's going to be a little bit more complex. We have a lot of things that we keep in our kitchens, and you might want to break that down into smaller lists, or you might want to just put it into a book. In my pantry, I use just a normal exercise book, and I have shelf 1, shelf 2, shelf 3, and I can keep a running total of what I have in the pantry. And then I can write my grocery list from there. And then I also have the list for the household items or toiletries or first aid supplies. So that helps keep it all organized, so that when you go to the shops, you are going to be focused on what you need to actually do when you get there. Right, well, what else do we need to talk about? So let's talk about your budget. Now, most people, again, do not have a lot of disposable income that they can race out and just fill a room full of stockpile goods. So most of us just have a little bit each week that we might be able to spare. So if you have just $10 a week or $20 a week that you can spare towards stockpiling, take that, make a plan. Again, check out your catalogs, look for these half price sales. That's where you're going to save all the money. Why pay full price for an item if it's going to come on a half price sale on a regular cycle with the grocery stores? You will notice that in the shops, there is a cycle where certain products will come around every few months and it will be half price. So don't panic if you don't make the first sale. You can always go back and buy some the next time around. But take your $10 or your $20 a week and then say, right, well, this item here, you know, is $2 or $3. How many of those can I buy up to my budget? How much space? Remember, how much space do you have to store it? So don't overbuy and don't overspend on it. The whole goal here is not only just to have that backup supply, but it's to help you with that budget. It's to help you save some money. Now, super important, once you have some supplies, you need to know how to look after it. So this is where the list comes in handy, because you could even add after food items and that, the use by dates or the best before dates, so that you never have to throw anything out. You will waste a lot of money if you have to throw out goods because they go past their use by dates. Now, use by dates and best before dates are a bit different. Use by normally is for food items or medicines, and you have to watch those very carefully. A best before means, you know, the item's going to be at its very best prior to that date, but if it does tend to go past that date, it's probably still usable, but just keep an eye on what you're doing with those products. So the best thing that I find is that I have a black marking pen, and on items of like food items or canned goods, I will write the use by date in big black numbers on the can, so that it's so easy just to pick it up and go, right, that has to be used by July, that has to be used by October, and you can actually keep turning over your stock. Don't just keep pushing things into a cupboard without rotating them around. Again, you will end up having things spoil, or it will be wasted. You've thrown away your money then. That's not the goal here. We want to make sure that we are using the stock through. So first in to the cupboard means first out of the cupboard. So put your new stock at the back and rotate it forward so that you're always using the oldest of your stock first. You need to buy some good containers. When you go into the shops, make sure they haven't been sitting there for too long, because sometimes when containers are stacked up for a long time, the sides tend to bow out a little bit and they won't seal properly. So if you're putting something like pasta or sugar or flour into a container, you want to make sure that that is airtight, and so that you're not going to have any problems with, you know, weevils or any sort of bug getting into there. So make sure your containers are airtight and of good quality. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips and tricks about how to make one of my favorite products to stockpile last a little bit longer. Now, I've spoken about this before. I love to stockpile cleaning products and toiletries. That's my favorite thing to do. I'm always on the lookout for a half price bargain on those items. But you can take them and you can have a nice supply of them. But if you can actually stretch those products further and make them last longer, you're going to save even more money. So let me show you a few tips and tricks with soap. Okay, so let's talk soap. Now, most people like to use just a normal hand soap in a pump pack. Now, during the lockdown time and all that craziness in the grocery stores, it was really difficult to get your hands on this kind of soap. So if you weren't lucky like us and had a good supply, then all of a sudden this necessity in our home became really hard to find. Now, I much prefer to use the containers that are clear, because then you know how much product you have left in the container. Whereas when you use one that has a solid colour bottle, you have no idea how much is left in there. So this way you can see the product, and then you can figure out whether or not you can water this product down a little bit. Never be afraid to mix the soaps. I mean, just because one is green and one is orange and one is, you know, creamy coloured, you can still mix them together. Soap is soap. You can take your full container, you can pour some of this soap into your other container, and then you can add a little bit of water to both, and then you will end up with so much more product that you can use. You don't need to worry that it's not going to work as well just because it's watered down a little bit. You can see just how thick this product is at the moment, and clearly this one that we have been using, you know, is quite a bit thinner, so it's been watered down. Now, don't let your children water down the soap, or you will end up with just pure liquid in there. It will be so runny because everyone thinks they're helping out and they're really not. So only mum gets to water down the soap, right? That's the rule in our house here. Only mum gets to do this. And don't ever do more than about, say, a quarter of the container. It will get too runny to use properly then. So 1/4 water, 3/4 soap, give it a bit of a shake. Sometimes when you add the water, it will actually change the consistency and the color of the product in there. Don't be afraid of that either. It still works perfectly well. You can do it with hand soap, you can do it with bubble bath, you can do it with shower gels as well. Now with your cakes of soap, these little bits that are always left over at the end, these normally for most people seem to go straight into the rubbish bin. Now what you can do is you can take those pieces of soap and you can either break them down into small pieces or you can grate them, and then you can put them into your hand soap containers, add a little bit of hot water and keep shaking them over a few days, and eventually they will go soft and break down and you will have extra hand soap that you can use. So don't throw away these little tiny pieces. Every time you throw one of those away, you're throwing away more money. So you can use these, so put them into your hand soap containers. Now this is my favorite hack of all. Now once you have watered down your soap, you will find that when you press this down, you will get a lot of product out onto your hands. And if you have a house full of children like I do, wow, that's going to disappear really super fast. So how do we stop getting a full depression of this pump every time the kids use it? Well, simple and easy. So all you need is a small rubber band or a small hair elastic or a hair tie, and I'll show you what you do with it. All right, so take your container, take the hairband, pop it over here, twist it, put it over a few times. Squash it down there, and that's it. Now when you use this, watch what happens. Still plenty of soap to use, right? Still plenty there, but you've only used half the amount. So imagine how much money you could save if your little container of hand soap went twice as far because you only used half the amount each time, and then it went even further because you've watered it down by a quarter as well. So it's perfectly good, works well. So make sure you keep the little elastic clean there, give it a bit of a wash every so often, but the kids won't even notice it's on the container, and you will be saving so much money. And I hope all of those tips and tricks were helpful. Remember, we're out there to save money, we're out there to be prepared, and just have a good time with it. Don't get too serious over it, just have some fun. If you've never stockpiled before and you want to give it a go, get out there, make a plan and go and grab some things and just start small and you can work your way up. I'd love to hear how you get on with that. And if you've got extra tips for us, pop them in the comments below, or if you've got any questions, love to answer those for you as well. We'd love to have you subscribe to our channel and stay with us here, and we will catch you next time. Thanks for watching. God bless.